Hi friends, this article is the lead article from the Hindu editorial page dated 5th of July. Topic of the article is the problem now with the military synergy plan. Listening to the article gives you chance to form opinion about the subject firsthand. So let's begin. The problem now with the military synergy plan. The Indian military must note that consultative strategies is a prerequisite before a concrete structure is put in place. It is indisputable that the Indian military continues to work in silos, like all government agencies in India, and a need was rightly felt and directions issued by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to bring about jointness, leaving the task to the first Chief of Defence Staff of India. It is also indisputable that the aim is to bring about synergy in operations while economizing, economizing through the elimination of duplicate and wasteful practices or processes. At the outset, it also needs to be clearly stated that, contrary to the recent media reports, debates, and some opinions, the Indian Air Force is not playing dog in the manner and resisting the formation of theater functional commands. With my 40 years in uniform, as I understand the doctrine and philosophy of the Indian Air Force, it is keen to bring in the requisite reforms to improve the war fighting capabilities of the Indian military as a whole while also economizing. Nuances of air power. The statement that the Indian Air Force wants to fight its own private war thus comes from people who do not understand the nuances and capabilities of air power and lack the expertise in its effective utilization. In the current formulation of theaters, the objections from the Indian Air Force have essentially been due to air power being seen as an adjunct to the two surface forces, the Indian Navy and Indian Army, and being divided into packets, which would seriously degrade the effectiveness of air operations in any future conflict or contingency. It is better that such objections and dissenting opinions come out now before the structure is formalized, and once it is set in stone and the use of air power is found to be suboptimal under the military ethos of an order is an order. We must remember that in war there is no prize for the runner up. The nation would then end up paying a heavy price, with the Air Force carrying the burden and blame for the failures. Political objectives. If war is the conti- if war is the continuation of politics by other means, then it is essential to first define the political objectives flowing into a national security strategy before any effective use of force can be truly contemplated. The failures of the mightiest militaries in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and even our own Indian misadventure in Sri Lanka bear testimony to the lack of clear political objectives and appropriate military strategies. It is, therefore, unfortunate that even after over 7 decades after independence, India still does not have a clearly articulated national security strategy. Only such a strategy can define the types of contingencies the military is expected to address, leading to appropriate military strategy, doctrines, and required capabilities that would define the structures required for the conduct of synergized operations with the requisite communications and training requirements. Concurrently, such an intellectual exercise would identify duplication, wasteful resources, and practices. This is what the CDS should have been pursuing before first freezing the structure and then trying to glue the pieces together or hammer square pegs in round holes. As argued elsewhere earlier, such an exercise may well result in identifying air powers as the lead element, particularly since the Indian political aim, even in the foreseeable future, is unlikely to be occupation of new territories. A large manpower intensive army with unusable armor formations would then also come into focus. Even the proposed Air Defense Command conflicts with the domain commands in seamless employment in air power. It's due to the absence of such an intellectual exercise that the Indian Air Force does not wish to see its limited resources frittered away in fighting frontal defensive battles by a land force commander with little expertise in employment of air power. The army fails to realize that offensive air power is best not seen, busy keeping the enemy air force pinned down elsewhere while giving own surface forces the freedom to maneuver and operate with impunity, as shown in 1971. The Army Air Force silo. Historically, the Indian Army has always kept the Indian Air Force out of the information loop and demonstrated a penchant to go it alone. The charge that the Indian Air Force joined the party late during Kargil is also totally baseless and shows a lack of knowledge on events and a failure to learn from historical facts. Recorded facts and a dispassionate view would clearly show that the Indian Air Force began conducting reconnaissance missions on May 10 as soon as Indian Army just made a request for attack helicopters without sharing full information. It is also surprising that a request for reconnaissance of the entire area was not made to first gather essential intelligence on what army was facing before launching foot patrols, which were mostly abused with unnecessary casualties instead of asking for armed helicopters. This despite the Indian Air Force pointing out the unsuitability of armed helicopters at these altitudes and their vulnerability. The use of offensive air power close to the line of control also required that the political leadership be kept informed due to possibilities of escalation, something that the army was unwilling to do. Even the chief of army staff initially threatened to go it alone on its return from his visit abroad. As for silos, the COAS, Chief of Army Staff, himself admitted that himself admitted later that information was not shared even between the Director General of Military Operation (DGMO) and Director General of Military Intelligence (DGMI) within Army headquarters, much less with the Indian Air Force. All this was despite the fact that the defense program post 1962 was based on the assumption that China posed the major threat and that the Indian Air Force be made capable of assuming some of the Army's deterrence capabilities. Echoes from Kargil. Seen in this light, the Chinese incursion into eastern Ladakh last year is reminiscent of Kargil. While the response has been swift, it is evident that a clear intent to use combat air power as against 1962 has significantly contributed in deterring China. However, such intent and a joint strategy would have been forcefully signaled by the presence of Air Force representatives in the ongoing negotiations to restore status quo ante. The continuing build-up of the infrastructure for the Chinese People's Liberation Army Air Force in Tibet further emphasizes the need for an air land strategy with air power as the lead element to deter or defeat the Chinese designs at coercion. Address the structural gaps. Finally, theater or any lower structure requires an institutionalized higher defense organization, which has been sadly missing since the Defense Committee of the Cabinet became defunct in the 1950s, leading a little regular dialogue between the political and military leadership, except in crises resulting in knee jerk responses. This led to a remark from a social warrior that it is ironic that the cabinet has an accommodation committee but not a defense committee. In the current proposal, it appears that the CDS, as the permanent chairman of the Chief of Staff Committee, would also exercise operational control of the theater functional commands, a move that is unlikely to be palatable to the politico-bureaucratic leadership and which has perhaps called for further deliberations. Prudence demands that instead of ramming down such structures without adequate deliberations and discussions with all stakeholders, we first evolve appropriate military strategies in a nuclear backdrop in concert with the political objectives. Thereafter, joint planning and training for all foreseen contingencies with wargaming would automatically indicate the required structures and suitable command, control, and communications. Air Marshal Harshad Masand is a retired fighter pilot from the Indian Air Force and a Veer Chakra awardee from the 1971 war.